The Bullseye game is going to be a full-screen app that will be played in landscape mode. So far, you've been working with the layout designer in portrait mode, but it's time to start building the layout with a final look in mind. You set the device orientation for the main activity inside the Android manifest.xml file. Now you might ask, what is an Android manifest? Well, every Android application must have an Android manifest.xml file. This file contains all the essential information for the configuration of the app. It contains a reference to the activities and other components of the app. It also contains information used by the Android operating system. For example, if an activity's orientation should be in portrait or landscape mode. It also contains information like the app icon. It also provides information that can be used by Play Store. For instance, if you want your app to access the device location or maybe have access to the network, you specify it in this file as permissions. Then, Play Store reads this file and displays this permission whenever you want to install an app. I know you must have seen this screen when you're about to install an app, right? The Android manifest.xml file supplied that configuration information. So, it's simply a file that contains the details of all the components and configuration of an Android app. So let's dive into using it, and you'll be visiting this file often as you progress in this course. Inside Android Studio, open up the startup project for this episode by clicking on the Open button in the Welcome window. Then you browse to the folder and open it up. If you've been following along, you could just open up the project by selecting it from the list of projects. I'll do that now. The Android manifest.xml file is located inside the manifest folder in the app directory. Go ahead and open it up. It might look intimidating at first, but if you look closely, it's plain and simple. First, we have the manifest node, which defines the unique package name for the application. This is the reverse domain name you set when you are creating the project. Next is the application node, which is a child of the manifest. In here, you have app-related information like the app icon to display and the label which will be shown wherever the app name needs to be displayed, like in the home screen. The application node has something called a theme, which contains the styling for the application. Inside the application node, we have the activity node with the name tag. We only have one activity, which is the main activity. Whenever we create a new activity, Android Studio would automatically add the new activity node. Inside the activity node, we have an intent filter as its child. We'll talk about intents later on in this course, but for now, just see an intent as an object that carries a message to perform an action. In this case, the intent filter states that the main activity is the main entry point for the application, and that it should be listed in the launch screen thanks to the launcher category. If you remove the launcher category, then the app would not be visible in the launcher. It would act like a hidden app. You can go ahead and comment out the launcher line and try running your app to see what happens. Okay, enough talk. Let's set the orientation of the main activity to landscape. Add in the following code in the activity node. Run your app. And you can see, the main activity is set to landscape mode. I'll change the device orientation to portrait. And it still maintains the landscape orientation. Next, let's hide the app bar. Head over to the main activity. Then add the following code before the call to the parents class on create method. Run your app once again. As you can see, the app bar is now hidden. Do note that this is just a temporary fix to hide the app bar. Later on in this course, I'll show you a more robust way of removing both the app bar and the status bar. As you can see, the status bar is still visible. But at least we can continue building our UI without any major obstruction. Finally, we need to start designing our app with a landscape-first approach inside the layout editor. Open up the main activities layout file. Click on the Orientation for Preview button in the Layout Editor toolbar. This brings out a menu of different display settings for the design editor. Go ahead and select Create Landscape Variation. This creates a new layout file for the landscape design for your app. And if you look at the navigation bar, you can see that the layout name is prefixed with land, which signifies landscape. From now on, you'll be working with this file as your main layout file. A new folder structure was also created. To see it, open up the project window by the side if you don't have it open already. Then, head over to the layout folder. You can see that a new folder called activity_main is created, and it contains the two layout files for both the portrait and the landscape mode. The idea of having different layout files is not just limited to device orientation. You can have different layout files for tablets and even for different screen sizes. This helps you as a designer not to be limited in your design approach. Let's face it, your apps won't run on just one screen. Having different layout files makes you deliver your apps in a way that looks good and adapt well on different screens. Now we got this set up, let's add up the other views to our app.